This article is in response to an article InfoWars, NSA breached Chinese server seen as security threat by the New York Times. So this is just a reprint of a New York Times article. A lot of times InfoWars articles are not worked up. I think I have actually kind of a good relationship with InfoWars because I'll work up some of the articles as far as being critical of them. I don't really attack Ajax loans too much. I usually just try to get to the bottom of the articles, but I usually don't get any notoriety for that at all whatsoever. But American officials have long considered Huawei the Chinese telecommunications giant a security threat, blocking it from business deals in the United States for fear the company would create backdoors in its equipment that could allow Chinese military or Beijing-backed hackers to steal corporate and government secrets. But even as the United States made a public case about the dangers of buying from Huawei, classified documents show that National Security Agency was creating its own backdoors directly into Huawei's networks. The agency prided its way in the servers of Huawei's sealed headquarters in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is there's a couple of provinces in China that deal in copying or cloning products. Shenzhen is one. China's industrial heart, according to NSA documents provided by the former contractor Edward J. Snowden. It obtained information, and this is total bullshit. Not the InfoWars article, but the New York Times article, about the workings of giant routers and complex switches that Huawei boasts connect a third world population and monitor communications from the company's top executives. And you'll hear Hellworth talk about the Snowden bullshit job. That's part of it. Okay, so down here I posted, Huawei has been stealing hundreds of U.S. patents for China. Now NSA is on the warpath, but with NSA sidestepping patriots with Yankee white TSA and a college degree to hire people like Snowden with little or no experience who will do the job. And somebody wrote, how do you steal a patent? Well, you go in a company and you steal their copyrighted patented secrets for making their products. And that's what Huawei and a lot of Chinese companies do. I did a search on China stealing U.S. patents worries Washington. Pulled up an exclusive article that I searched, Huawei, the Chinese company that scares Washington. At the top, leading China's secrets are stealing unabated while we worry about China. Some ways Americans are ripped off. New patent laws. Other searches, Huawei stealing U.S. patents. You go and you search. There's the article again, Huawei Wikipedia. And I read an article a few months ago how Washington, D.C. was worried about the number of patents that China was stealing hundreds of U.S. patents from large corporations. The Huawei article at Wikipedia goes into intellectual property rights. In February 2003, Cisco Systems sued Huawei Technologies for allegedly infringing on its patents and illegally copying source code and used in its routers and switches. According to a statement by Cisco by July 2004, this is 10 years ago, Huawei removed the contested code manuals, but you can bet they copied the contested code. They might have not used it exactly, but they probably sat down with some programmers and figured out how to replicate it. And command line interfaces, and the case was subsequently dropped. Both sides claimed success, with Cisco asserting that a completion lawsuit makes victory for protection of intellectual property rights, and Huawei's partner 3Com, which was not part of the lawsuit, noting that the court prevented Cisco from bringing another case, Huawei asserting the same or substantial similar claims, although Cisco employees are allegedly witnessed counterfeited technology as late of 2005. In retrospect, Cisco's corporate counsel noted that Cisco was portrayed by the Chinese media as a bullying multinational corporation, and damage to Cisco's reputation in China outweighed benefit achieved through the lawsuit. However, the same article that quoted the remarks of the corporate counsel also noted the remarks of Jay Honig of the Hill Associates, a security and risk management consultancy, who encouraged further companies to take greater advantage of civil litigation, and said that it was hard to make the argument that China's civil system was ineffectual if litigants did not pursue all of the legal remedies available to them. There's another article from Time. Huawei, the Chinese company that scares Washington. Is Huawei the agent of a Chinese state as critics charge, or simply a successful foreign business that might challenge the titans of America? Now remember that one of the the leading benchmarks I always put on communist countries is who pays your paycheck. If you work in China or Russia for a corporation, the corporation has oligarchs assigned by the U.S. government. They receive a profit from the company and profit sharing. The corporations pay the government all their money. They get a bone back, and then the employees who work from the company, all the employees who work for corporations in communist countries, get their check back from the government. So don't ever pretend like if you're working for a business in a Chinese company that it's a free enterprise. More and more that's getting to be the case in the United States, but it's even more so in communist countries. Down here it says, there is not much that brings together Democrats and Republicans these days, but on Huawei, the Chinese telecommunications giant, American politicos are uncharacteristically united. Though largely unknown to the U.S. consumers, Huawei Technologies is an industrial leader of the field of telecommunications infrastructure, the plumbing of mobile phone networks. Last year, top sales $35.4 billion, more than Goldman Sachs and McDonald's. It's likely to brag that 1/3 of the world's population is hooked up to networks that use its gear, but that's precisely what makes the U.S. nervous. In this week's magazine, business corporate Michael Schuman explores the U.S. distrust of private Chinese firms, which reflects Washington's wider distrust of Beijing, and Huawei's an agent of the state, as critics charge, or simply successful foreign business that might challenge the titans of American tech. U.S. lawmakers see the private Chinese firm as something of a Trojan horse. Experts worry that Huawei's equipment that plugs into networks would give the Chinese government, the People's Liberation Army, backdoor access to sensitive computer systems or telephone lines, potentially allowing them to disrupt communications or pilfer valuable economic and military secrets. The danger, the company's detractors say, isn't just theoretical. We believe that China has the means, opportunity, and motive to use their technology company against the U.S. Congressman Dutch Rupersberger, he's from Maryland, the ranking Democrat on the House Parliament Select Committee on Intelligence. He says a wider committee wants to put our citizens on notice about how serious this is, and the Chinese government is working with them and it is involved. Fears over Huawei also reflects the growing concern about the vulnerability of American communications networks, which have widely recently become under repeated attacks. You can also go to my YouTube articles on the missing Malaysian plane, where I implicate China. I also give flight maps that would put the plane somewhere in Lhasa, China, which is southwestern China, and I give this all as a possible motive. There's 20 Zigbee employees that worked on the U.S. smart grid. So if you look at China's interest in disrupting the U.S. power grid as a possible motive for kidnapping the planes from China, I think that's a good possibility. But that's a more complete workup on the InfoWars article. NSA breached Chinese server seen as a security threat. Is NSA actually doing its job for once instead of spying on the U.S. citizens in the Congress? They're going over and beating Huawei's system servers up, trying to figure out what's going on. I think that's a good start.